ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So welcome back everyone to Wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. We are currently covering chapter 6, which is entitled Dhyana Yoga. Until now, we have covered till verse number 32. And in the last session, we were looking at how the Ashtanga Yoga process is performed. So from verse number 15 to 32, we saw last week. And generally, this section started from verse number 10, how the Ashtanga Yoga process is performed. So in the last session, we saw that Ashtanga Yoga is not for health benefits. So that is not the goal for Ashtanga Yoga. By doing some asanas, pranayam, you may actually get some better health, but that is not the goal. So the goal for Ashtanga Yoga is attaining the kingdom of God. And we also saw that the yogi must have regulated habits. Regulated habits in all, like all the eating, sleeping, recreation, and work. Everything has to be regulated. Not too little, not too much. And the yogi have to have patience, determination, and faith, especially for progressing from the beginning stage, yoga aruruksha stage, to yoga rudha stage. And if he continues his regulated habits and he has patience, determination, faith, and he continues like that, then over a period of time he reaches samadhi. And that is the stage where he can actually take darshan of Paramatma, the super soul. And and Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna clearly mentioned that at that level, when he reaches the level of samadhi, he understands that Krishna as Bhagavan and Paramatma are not different. So that is what we have seen till now. Now, after hearing this complicated process, that how he has to sit, how he has to meditate, how he has to control the mind, how he has to disengage his senses from the sense objects, all of that, Arjuna has a doubt. And this is what we are going to see. So, Arjuna is going to talk about how it is difficult to control the mind, and Lord Shri Krishna is going to respond to him and gives a two-pronged formula for controlling the mind. And then Arjuna is going to ask that even after you have told me this, that how to control the mind, I think that it is still very difficult to control the mind. And so suppose if the yogi is not able to control this process in this life, what is his situation? Like, what will he get? Whether he will lose everything, or what is the situation? And in the end, Lord Shri Krishna talks about the hierarchy in the yoga and hierarchy in the yogi and who is the topmost yogi. So this is what we are going to see today. Hopefully, we will complete this chapter today. So let us start with verse number 33. Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvaya prokta samena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram. Who wants to read? Yes, Vibhor Prabhuji, and then Mataji, you can do.
Arjun said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me. For the mind, it's restless and unsteady.
So, what Arjuna is saying here, very interesting. He's saying that this process of Ashtanga Yoga that you have told me till now, I think it is impractical. It is not practical uh, for uh, for him to follow. Now, Arjuna is not an ordinary person. So Arjuna is saying that it is not practical for him to follow. So what is the question of following it to be followed by all the other people in Kali Yuga? And he is saying it is unendurable to me. So he cannot do it because the mind is restless and unsteady. So it is quite an important verse where Arjuna is saying that this equal vision that you are asking me to maintain, that earlier in the verse, earlier in the chapter, it was mentioned that uh, the gold and the and the stone needs to be looked at same. Then the friend and the enemy needs to be looked at same. So he's thinking, how is it possible? I am actually standing on this battlefield and I want to fight with Duryodhana and Karna and all these other people who are on the side of Duryodhana. So if I have to see the enemy and friend equally, so do I have to actually see Duryodhana and Yudhishthir equally? Then if I have to see Duryodhana and Yudhishthir equally, then how can I fight for Duryodhana and fight for Yudhishthira and fight against Duryodhana? It is not possible. It is not practical for me to think like this, that I can take the enemy and friend equally. And if I take them equally, I will not even fight. So this is very difficult process and it is impractical, it is unendurable. And this is for Arjuna, it is like that. And Arjuna is not an ordinary person. He belongs to a royal family. Uh, he's he's a great warrior. He even helped Indra to conquer the enemies. So those enemies were not conquerable by Indra. It was not possible for him. So Arjuna went and helped him. He had great longevity. So he was living for a long life. He was living a long life. And above all of that, Krishna is his friend and very close friend. So what is it in the life that is difficult for him? And still he is saying that it is hard, it is impractical and unendurable. And this is a important point from our perspective, that practicing Ashtanga Yoga, and we have seen this before as well, towards at the beginning of the chapter also, we looked at this practical application. So practicing Ashtanga Yoga process properly is extremely difficult, and very rarely one can become successful in it, especially in Kali Yuga. Even 5,000 years ago, Arjuna was saying this when he had all that qualification. We don't even have all the qualification of Arjuna. 5,000 years have passed, so the period has already deteriorated. So how it is possible? There is still maybe one in a million or someone who is able to do this, but for people in general, this process is very, very difficult to follow. So let us look at what he says further about the mind. So let's go to verse number 34. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramathi balavadrudam tasyaham nigraham manne vayoriva sudushkaram. Who's reading? Raghavendra Prabhuji or Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Who was next to read? We are also going to read one paragraph here.
Surananda Prabhu.
Yeah, Surananda Prabhuji, if you can read the purport where it starts, the individual is the passenger. So this is coming from Katha Upanishad, and there are those two verses which are given where the position of the mind has been explained, giving a chariot analogy. So let us read that part and then we will talk a little bit more.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
The individual is the passenger in the car of the material body, and intelligence is the driver. Mind is the driving instrument, and the senses are the horses. The self is thus the enjoyer or sufferer in the association of the mind and senses. So it is understood by great thinkers. Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind, but the mind is so strong and obstinate that it often overcomes even one's own intelligence. As an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine, Such a strong mind is supposed to be controlled by the practice of yoga. But such practice is never practical for a worldly person like Arjuna. And what can we say of modern man? The simple the simile used here is appropriate. One cannot capture the blowing wind, and it is even more difficult to capture the turbulent mind. The easiest way to control the mind, as suggested by Lord Chaitanya, is chanting Hare Krishna, the great mantra for deliverance in all humility. The method prescribed is Savai Manah Krishna Padara Vindayaha. One must engage one's mind fully in Krishna. Only then will there remain no other engagements to agitate the mind.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. So here the nature of mind has been explained. So there are four things which are mentioned. What is the speciality of the mind? What characteristic it has? It is chanchala. It is restless. So while even you are listening to this lecture and we are discussing, our mind may have thousands of other thoughts as well. And the mind is actually always pulling us from here to there to there, and there to everywhere. So the mind is in 1 second here, and the next second it will be somewhere else altogether. So it is very, very restless. Then it is turbulent. Turbulent means it is pramathi. So when someone is caught in the turbulence of the water, even if he's an expert swimmer, he just washed away. He just taken with the water. So the water had like the turbulent water has very, very big strength, and it is hard to overcome. Then it is said that it is obstinate. Obstinate is it is balvat, very, very sorry, but obstinate means dridam. Dridam means um, if it decides to do one thing, the mind is just stuck to it. It will not move from here. And we all have that experience. We just think about a particular thing, and even if we try to actually divert our mind onto something else, the mind just goes back to that place where you don't want it to go. So it's very, very obstinate, and it is very, very strong. It is balvat. So you just think about that if you have a small child who is restless, very turbulent, is obstinate, and very strong, what situation we will be in? If there is some child like that in our house, then it will be very, very hard. We will never be peaceful at our home. So similarly, this mind is not in our home. It is within us, within this body, and it is always pulling us here and there. And that is where it is never peaceful. We never find peace. We are always thinking of this and that, and we are always stressed out. We are in anxiety, and it makes our life very, very difficult. And earlier in this chapter, we have seen that Krishna has said that if we are not able to control the mind, then the mind is our enemy. And if we are able to control the mind, then it is our friend. But here the characteristic is given in such a way that it appears as if it is impossible. It is said it is restless, turbulent, very strong, and obstinate. So how can you control such a mind? And what Arjuna says that it is even more difficult than controlling the wind. So imagine controlling the wind, especially Wellington wind. Who can control it? It's impossible. But Arjuna was such a warrior that he was able to control the wind. He even has a weapon which can control the wind and use it as a weapon. So he is able to control the wind. So there are hardly anyone who can do it. He is able to do it. And still he is saying that I can control the wind, but the controlling the mind is beyond my experience and capability. So this is the situation. And then Srila Prabhupada quotes this Katha Upanishad verses and explains further about the mind. And we may have seen this before, that it is compared to a chariot. So chariot has these 5 horses. They are compared to the senses. And the reins for controlling the horses is compared to the mind. And the person who's driving the chariot and holding the reins is intelligence. And the person who's sitting in that chariot is the soul. And the chariot itself is compared to the body. So ideally, if a passenger is sitting in the car or in a vehicle, the passenger will give a direction to the chariot driver or the driver, and the driver is supposed to control the steering wheel or this reins for the horses, and then control the horses to take the chariot to the desired place where the passenger is asking him to take. So this is the normal situation, how it should happen, that the soul is giving direction to intelligence. Intelligence is using the mind to control the senses, and thus the senses and the soul takes the body to the desired destination. That is how it should work out. But in reality, it is the complete opposite. The senses, like these horses, are very, very strong and obstinate, and they are like a drunken horses, and they are taking us everywhere. So because of that, the mind, which are the reins, intelligence is trying to control the senses using the reins, which it is holding. But unfortunately, intelligence is very, very weak, and it is not able to control these senses using the mind. And then who suffers is the soul or the passenger who's sitting in that chariot. So this is our general situation. So it is explained with this analogy as well, that it is very difficult to control the mind. You can control the wind, but it is difficult to control the mind. So let us see then what Lord Shri Krishna answers to this question. Yes, Tripti Mataji, you have some question?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I remember seeing this in the previous session as well.
Yeah, in the third chapter, actually, we saw when we were talking about lust.
Yeah.
I think
So,
there we had, yeah.
Something I might have forgotten, but if you can remind me, we are, as an individual, we are soul, which is
Yeah.
living. And this is what gets passed on, does the rebirth. Where does intelligence, do we need to make our intelligence strong, or do we need to just separate ourselves from intelligence? And I'm just trying to remember what was the
Okay.
uh,
Yeah, good question. So I think what we have discussed this before is that we have three levels of body. We have the physical body, which are consisting of the five senses, and of course this physical body that we see, which is made of Pancha Mahabhutas. And then the second level of body is the subtle body, which consists of mind, intelligence, and false ego. And then there is ourselves, which is the spiritual body, which is the spirit soul. And when we actually move from one body to another, the physical body and the senses remains, but the soul travels with the subtle body into another body. So the mind, intelligence, and ego actually moves from one place to another. Now the challenge that we have is that we have to, just like we are giving up the material body, like this gross body, actually subtle body is also material. So when just like we are giving up our gross body at the time of death, if we are able to just give up our subtle body as well at the time of death, only then there is a possibility that we can go back to Godhead. But for that to happen, we have to make our intelligence stronger. When I'm saying stronger, is from the perspective that we have to actually change that from material intelligence to the spiritual intelligence. So that can happen by reading scriptures. So if you actually read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, all these other scriptures like Ramayana, Mahabharata, like that, if you keep reading, then the knowledge that the Lord and the devotees are trying to pass on to us, we will absorb that, and we will understand what to do and what not to do. And that is the job of intelligence. Determination and discrimination comes from intelligence. So when we actually understand what to do and what not to do, then by following that, then we will be able to control the mind and control the senses. And that way, we will be able to also, over a period of time, purify ourselves and then completely dissolve the subtle body as well. And that is when we can, instead of going from one body to another, we will go from this material body into this original spiritual body. Is that okay? Okay. Hare Krishna. So let us see now what Lord Shri Krishna is going to tell us, that how to control this mind, which Arjuna is saying is even difficult to control than the wind. But Lord Shri Krishna says that it is possible to control. Let us see what he says, which is in verse number 35. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagena cha Grihate. Who wants to read? Please quickly raise your hands. Yes, Mahendra Prabhuji. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mahendra Prabhuji. So what Krishna says here first, that yes, asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam. So earlier in the previous verse, Arjuna has said that it is sudushkaram. Sudushkaram means very, very difficult. Dushkaram is difficult. Sudushkaram is even more difficult. And here as well, Lord Shri Krishna has also used similar word, durnigraham. It is very difficult. So it is not that Arjuna said that it is very difficult. And Krishna says, what are you talking about? It is not very difficult. It is so easy. And it is not just even accepted that it is difficult. But here, Lord has also accepted that the mind is difficult to be controlled. He's saying, yes, what you have said is absolutely right. I agree to it. It is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind. But he said, Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihate. But with these two things, you can still control the mind. Now, this is not a formula which you just do it for one day and you will be able to control the mind. The factors itself are like that they don't come in one day. The two things which are mentioned by Lord Shri Krishna is abhyasa. Abhyasa means it is suitable practice. And practice doesn't happen in one day. Practice means you have to do it every day for many years. Then we say that it is abhyasa, or it is a practice that we have done. So that means control of mind is not going to happen overnight. It has to be slowly, you have to keep doing over a period of time, and then the mind will get controlled. The second thing which is mentioned, vairagya, which is detachment. Again, detachment is very, very hard to get. So both factors are given how to control the mind, but both factors are difficult. And that is why it is still difficult to control the mind. But these are the two ways that we can do by which we can control the mind. Abhyasa and detachment. Sorry, abhyasa and vairagya, which is practice and detachment. Now, all the processes of self-realization, and we will see in just 2 minutes, all the processes, they have this do's and don'ts. Detachment is basically we have to give up something, right? So that is like don'ts. And practice is you have to do something every day. So practice and detachment is nothing but do's and don'ts. And all the processes that we would see, that all of them have some do's that we have to do regularly, and then don'ts that we have to give up. And that is how the practice and detachment. So all these processes that we do, including Bhakti Yoga, has this practice and detachment inbuilt. And if you actually follow the process properly, then we will be able to control our mind, including the process of Bhakti Yoga. So let us see. So Lord Krishna's formula for mind control is Abhyasa and Vairagya, detachment. And the next verse as well, we will see, and then we will talk a little bit more about this Abhyasa and Vairagya further, which is verse number 36. असंयतात्मना योगो दुष्प्राप इति मे मतिः वश्यात्मना तु यतता शक्यो वाप्तुमु आयतः. Who wants to read? Yes, Sannivas Prabhuji.
For one whose mind is unbearable, uh, self-realized, unburdened, yeah. Self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So Lord Shri Krishna has explained here that those whose mind is unbridled, that it is, you are not trying to control it, you are just allowing it to go anywhere. Then for such a person, self-realization is difficult work. It is not possible for him. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives for with appropriate means, he is assured of success. So we have to actually keep trying. So this is what Lord Shri Krishna is saying, that we have to strive, we have to sincerely try using appropriate means. What are the appropriate means? It is appropriate means is abhyas and vairagya. And different processes are different kinds of do's and don'ts are given in different paths. So let us look at what are some of the do's and don'ts given in different paths. So if you look at Nishkam Karma Yoga, I have put some short forms in the first column. So NKY is Nishkam Karma Yoga. So what is the practice which is given for Nishkam Karma Yoga? So Abhyasa, so the second column is Abhyas, the third column is Vairagya, detachment. So what are the do's and don'ts which are given for each of the yoga process? So for Nishkam Karma Yoga, the practice that needs to be done, we have to act dutifully. We have to do our duty. The work that is given as per the Varnashram Dharma, we have to follow it dutifully. And not giving up the duty no matter what happens. And not thinking oneself as the doer. But what is the detachment? We have to get detached from the fruits of the action. So this attachment that we have to the fruits of the action, that needs to be given up. So that is the practice and detachment. If we do this, then the mind will get control of a Nishkam Karma Yogi. For a Jnana Yogi, which is the second row here, the practice is study of Vedas. And detachment is the action itself is given up by the Jnana Yogis. And by doing this, the Jnana Yogi will be able to control the mind. Ashtanga Yoga, which is the one that we are seeing currently in this chapter, the practice which is given is Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, then Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. This is all the practice which is given for this Ashtanga Yogi, which is the sense control and then meditation. This is what is explained as a practice. And what is the detachment that they have to do? Which is the detachment from sense gratification. They have to go into some secluded place and then remove the senses from the sense objects. And over a period of time, when they get advanced and towards the Yoga Ruda stage, around Dharana Dhyana stage, they have to also give the external action. So that is the detachment which is given. And for Bhakti Yoga, the practice which is given is the 9 processes of devotional service, which is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. So these 9 processes of devotional service, but especially in the Kali Yuga, the most important process is chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is the do that we have to actually practice. Every day we have to practice the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra without fail. And Srila Prabhupada has asked us to chant minimum 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So this is the practice. And Srila Prabhupada has said that those who are chanting minimum 16 rounds every day and following in the footsteps of the acharyas, following 4 little principles, then he has given the guarantee that we will go back to Godhead. So our mind will get controlled, and at the end of the life, we can go back to Godhead. So these 9 processes are given. And especially the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra chanting is the practice that we have to do. And what is the detachment? We have to follow the 4 relative principles. And the regulative principles are no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, and no intoxication. So this is the detachment that we have to do. So practice, abhyasa, and detachment, vairagya. So all processes have this abhyasa and vairagya built in. And by doing this abhyasa and vairagya, slowly, we control our mind. And controlling the mind is we actually remove all the anarthas from our mind and not let the mode of passion or mode of ignorance to drive the mind in different directions. We try to take it to mode of goodness, and then from mode of goodness to Shuddha Sattva, which is the pure goodness. And that is where we say that the mind is controlled now. And then with that controlled mind, we are able to focus on the Supreme Lord nicely, and that is how we can actually do the bhakti properly, or any of the paths properly as well for the other yogis. Yes, Tripti Mata, you have some question?
Yeah, Ambarish Prabhuji, with regards to Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the right process of reciting it or even the words, is it mentioned in Bhagavad Gita as word and word that this is the Maha Mantra we should be, or is it one of the Guruji's
Yeah, good question.
interpretation?
Yeah, excellent question. So we have to remember that Bhagavad Gita is spoken on the battlefield, and it is giving the essence of the entire scriptures, including Vedas, Upanishads, and everything. So here, Lord Shri Krishna says that Yajnanam Japa Yajñosmi. So we will see in the 10th chapter, he will say that out of all the yajnas which can be done, japa yajna. So we have to do the japa. So I am the japa yajna. Then satatam kirtayantuma, that we have to actually keep chanting. It is not actually 16 rounds. He never says that chant 16. He says satatam. Satatam means 24/7. We have to remember him. And then everywhere, like multiple places, he will say that you have to focus our mind and our intelligence on him. So this mantra itself, Maha Mantra itself, comes from Kali Santrana Upanishad, and other places as well it is mentioned, but predominantly Kali Santrana Upanishad, where this mantra is mentioned, and it is also said that Iti Shodashakam Namnam. So before that the mantra is mentioned. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashakam Namnam Kali Kalmasha Nashanam Natah Parataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. So what it says is that these 16 words, iti shodashakam namnam kali kalmasha nashanam. So all the problems and all the anxieties that we have in Kali Yuga, all of that can be removed by the 16 words mantra. And iti shodashakam namnam kali kalmasha nashanam nata parataropayah sarva vedeshu drishyate. If you actually look into all the Vedic scriptures, then you will not be able to find a better mantra than this. So this is specifically mentioned in Kalisantrana Upanishad. So that is why we all chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the special medicine for Kali Yuga. And by chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then we can do everything that we need to achieve in the spiritual process. Especially in Bhakti Yoga, this is the mantra that we chant. Is that okay?
Yeah, Dhanyavad, Prabhuji.
Okay, fine. So practice and detachment has been mentioned, and we have talked about Bhakti Yoga. So the practical learning that we can get is that as Arjuna and Lord Shri Krishna has mentioned, mind is very difficult to control, but it is possible by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and following four relative principles. So that is our Abhyas and Vairagya. So every devotee has to take a sincere effort. We have to put in our sincere effort to do this Abhyasa and Vairagya. It is very simple process as compared to all the other processes that we saw where the Abhyas and Vairagya has been mentioned. For Bhakti Yoga, it is the simplest. If you see comparatively, Abhyasa is also simple for Bhakti Yogi, and the Vairagya is also simple. What we are asked to give up. It is not that we have to give up all sense enjoyment or whatever. We have just asked to actually do everything for Krishna's pleasure. But of course, we also get to enjoy the prasadam or anything that we are offering to Krishna. We are also actually getting that. So it is easier to engage the senses in Krishna's service, as it was mentioned in the purport that we read earlier. for verse number 34. So Srila Prabhupada ended that purport by saying, one must engage one's mind fully in Krishna. Only then will there remain no other engagement to agitate the mind. So we saw that there. So that is the process that we use. Instead of actually removing the senses from the sense object, we actually attach the senses to Krishna. We engage our senses in Krishna's service, and by doing that, we can easily conquer our senses and the mind. So this is the process which has been given. Okay, let us move on to the next verse. We have completed 36, right? One who's my, yeah, we have done. Okay, 37. अर्जुन उवाच अयति श्रद्धयोपेतो योगाच्चलितमानसः अप्राप्य योगसंसिद्धिं कां गतिं कृष्ण गच्छति. Who wants to read? Tripti? Yeah, please go ahead.
Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism?
Yeah. So this is a very, very pertinent question for every one of us. So, okay, all these processes are given and the ways for doing abhyas and detachment, abhyas and vairagya both are given. And so suppose we are following it, and it is not that we are insincerely doing it. So there are multiple reasons why we could fail. Suppose we just started and we died next day. So it is obviously we haven't completed our process. Or we actually did, we start and we are also doing it for a long time, but somehow or the other, finally it is a war against Maya. And Maya is very strong. And so suppose Maya wins, what happens then? You have actually given up everything that everyone else is enjoying. For example, if you're taking up the spiritual path, then for example, in our like Bhakti Yoga process, we say that no illicit sex, no gambling, no alcohol, no intoxication. And then over a period of time, we say, okay, fine, now you have done this, now no onion, no garlic, no movies, no this, no that. And then we are thinking, "Arey, everyone else is enjoying around us all of these things, and I have given up all of these activities. Okay, that means I haven't enjoyed materially as just like everyone else is enjoying, they are enjoying materially. So I have given up those material enjoyments. And so suppose I do not complete this process, that means I did not get the spiritual thing as well as the material enjoyment. So I did not achieve the spiritual goal, and there was no material enjoyment that I was when I was living. So is that the situation? What happens with this unsuccessful transcendentalist? So this is what Arjuna is asking. That what is the destination of such an unsuccessful transcendentalist who has faith in the process? It is not that he doesn't have faith, but for whatever reason, and he has also engaged in the process, but for whatever reason he hasn't completed it. And he's not even trying to cheat, but he just loses the war against Maya. So his mind deviates him. So what will happen to such a person? So then Lord Shri Krishna will there is one more verse, actually two more verses. So let us look at them before Lord actually starts responding to it. So verse number 38. Kachinno bhaya vibhrashtas chinna bhramiva nashati apratishto mahabaho vimudo brahmana pathi. Yes, Raghavendra Prabhuji or Mataji, who wants to read?
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Translation. O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere?
Yeah, so we just talked about it. Thank you, Prabhuji. So it is like a riven cloud. Riven cloud means like a small cloud which has got detached from the main cloud, and So it is of no use, because if it is like attached with the big cloud, at least it can deliver rain. But if it's such a small cloud which is there, then how can it give rain? So it is not of any use. So that is a riven cloud. It is just moving from here and there without any purpose. So does a transcendentalist who has fallen down like this for some reason, then is he like a riven cloud? He is useless. He hasn't enjoyed materially, and he hasn't even achieved his goal. So he hasn't got even the spiritual success. So what happens to such a person? So let us see 6.39. एतन्मे संशयं कृष्ण छेत्तुर्मर्हस्य शेषतः त्वदन्यः संशयस्यास्य चेत्ता न ह्युपपद्यते. Who wants to read? Please raise your hands quickly. Yes, Sudharma Mataji, and then Mahendra Prabhuji, Ramakrishna Prabhuji. Thank you. You can go in that sequence.
This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I can ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So here, Arjuna is saying that you are the only one who can clarify this doubt now. There is no one else who will be able to clarify my doubts. Why is that? Because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the one who is the source of all knowledge. And he knows the past, present, future. So everything he is aware of. So if he doesn't know, then there is no one else who can actually respond. So instead of going and asking here and there, so Arjuna is saying that only you can give me or clarify this doubt for me. So please let me know what exactly will happen to such a person. So then Lord Shri Krishna starts answering to him. Verse number 40. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Partha naiveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate nahi kalyana krit kaschid durgatim tata gacchati.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes,
The
please.
Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Son of Pratha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you. So assuring answer Lord Shri Krishna has given. Like even before going into any details, first of all, he's saying that, hey, do not fear. That one who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. And a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. So he has given complete reassurance first, and then he will start explaining how that's so. So there is no destruction for the transcendentalist who is engaged in auspicious activities. So for all of us, do not have this doubt, do not have this thinking that what if I do not complete this? What if this happens? What if that happens? No. Krishna is saying that if you are doing good, you cannot be destroyed. It is one who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. So we have to be having this faith that Lord Shri Krishna has given us the guarantee. There is no destruction for the transcendentalist who is engaged in auspicious activities. So just have that faith that Krishna has reassured. And then now Krishna elaborates further that what he means that he doesn't, the transcendentalist meets no destruction in this world and then in the next world. So let us look at the further verses. 41. प्राप्य पुण्यकृतां लोकान् उषित्वा शाश्वती समः शुचिनां श्रीमतां गेहे योगभ्रष्टोऽभिजायते. Yes, Ram.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Translation. The unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So what happens to the unsuccessful yogi is mentioned in 6.41 and 6.42. Of course, 6.40 gave a summary, and 6.41 and 42 are given two use cases of this situation. The first use case is somebody who has started the practice of yoga, and he has done just little progress, and then somehow or the other, at the end of the life, he hasn't completed that process. Either he has fallen down, or somehow or the other he did not complete it, but the death come first. So if that is the situation, then what happens? So he's trying to go to the final destination, eternal destination, but what happens is he has fallen down after little progress. But what is the result for that person? Lord Shri Krishna says, after enjoyment in heavenly planets for many, many years, this person is born in a righteous or rich aristocratic family. This is quite interesting, the way that Lord Shri Krishna has mentioned it. So because Arjuna said that does he not get material as well as the spiritual benefit? So Krishna has turned it around and he said that he gets both. He gets material enjoyment as well as the spiritual goal as well. He is not deviated. How? So because he has fallen down after little progress, or somehow or the other he hasn't completed the process, in that situation, he still has this material desires for enjoyment. So then he is sent to the heavenly planet, and he has given ample opportunities to enjoy for many, many years. And by doing this, then his desire is fulfilled. And then after that, he is given a birth on the earthly planet in a righteous or rich aristocratic family. So he's given a head start. So in that situation, he doesn't have to struggle to meet the two ends meet. So he has ample time which he can utilize for Krishna consciousness. So this is how, if a person who has fallen down after a small progress, he can actually enjoy, get rid of his enjoyment mentality, and then come back to the righteous or rich aristocratic family from where he can start this process again. Now, what happens if he falls down after a longer, like he's almost there, but he has fallen down? Let us see what happens there. अथवा योगिनामेव कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरं लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्. Who's next to read? Who wants to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I read that one?
Yeah. Asoka Mataji, you can read this, and Vikas Prabhu and Sudharma Mataji and Kalakili Mataji, you can do after that.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Or if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly, such a birth is rare in this world. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you. So what is happening here? So in the 6.42, the again unsuccessful yogi has been mentioned, but he has fallen down after long practice of yoga. So yogi is advancing towards eternal destination. He is very close, but he has still not, somehow or the other, was not able to complete the process. Then what happens? He gets rare birth in a family of transcendentalists. So it is considered a rare birth, even rarer than being born in the rich or aristocratic or pious family. This family is a transcendentalist. They are already on the path of yoga. So they are following some bhakti yoga process. So he has made already some good progress. Such a yogi takes this birth in the family of the transcendentalist. So what happens is his last life was very good because he has almost completed that process. Then his birth is very good. So he has taken birth in a family of devotees. And the third, because he has taken the birth in the family of devotees, where the devotees will come together with another devotee. So he'll get the association of sadhus and other devotees. So all these three factors, which controls the free will, or which actually not say control, but it shapes the free will of a person. The three factors are the good upbringing, that the person is in a devotee family, so he's getting good upbringing. Good association, because he will meet so many other devotees, sadhus, that way he will be shaped like that. And the past life karma, so his destiny is determined, like what he's getting now is determined by that one. So all these three things are aligned properly for such a person. And that is why for him, he will quickly take the process again and then follow it and go back to Godhead. So that is how Lord Shri Krishna is explaining that such a person has no fear. He should, whether you have done little progress or a lot of progress, in both situations, you are going to get both the material as well as the spiritual success. So we don't have anything to fear. So even a small progress done on the spiritual path is never wasted. Also, if even a fallen candidate is given a chance to take birth in respectable, noble family or like a devotee family, then one can hardly imagine the status of one who has achieved success. Like it is like a failed candidate gets this. So if a past candidate, then you will get what? So you have to just imagine like that. So this is what Lord Shri Krishna is trying to explain to us. Okay. So now 43 to 45, these three verses explains now that he has taken the birth again in this rich or pious aristocratic family, or he has taken birth in a devotee family, what happens next? So that is explained in these three verses. Let us look at that. तत्र तं बुद्धिसंयोगं लभते पौर्वदेहिकं यतते च ततो भूया संसिद्धौ कुरु नन्दन.
On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. पूर्वाभ्यासेन तेनैव ह्रियते हवशोऽपि सः जिज्ञासुरपि योगस्य शब्दब्रह्माति वर्तते.
By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Verse number 45. Prayatnad yatamaanastu yogi samshuddha kilbishah anek janma samsiddhis tato yati param gatim.
And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal.
Yeah, so in these three verses, thank you, Mataji. In these three verses, 43, 44, and 45, Lord Shri Krishna is explaining what happens to such a person that who has somehow or other not completed the process and now he has taken the birth again. So how he restarts the practice wherever they have left. So it is mentioned that one revives the divine consciousness of their previous lives. So whatever progress that we have done, and we have seen that in the second chapter as well, where it was mentioned that pratyavayona vidyate. So whatever progress that we make from there, we actually continue the process. Neha vikramanashasti pratyavayona vidyate swalpam apyasa dharmasya trayate mahto bhayat. So if you have done like 10% progress, then you will start from that point, 11%, 12%, like that you will do. If you have done 98%, then you will go from 98 to 9900. So that one revives the divine consciousness of their previous lives. They will start from there. And automatically they are attracted to yogic principle, even without seeking them. So it is not that you have to actually go. Lord Shri Krishna will provide the opportunities for such a yogi to take the process again. And it is possible that the person may not take it because you still have free will. But that is why the situation is made in such a way for such a person that he will be able to accept it. So even without seeking, they will get that, and then that is where they will actually continue. And they will get attracted to such things. And they always stand above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. So the scriptures have so many different paths, and ritualistic principles are generally are given that you do something and you will get something. But they are not interested in this give and take. They are not in this business of that I will do something for you so that, oh God, you will do something for me. They will always stand above that kind of mentality. And thus they try to make further progress to achieve complete success. And when he is finally free from all contamination, he attains the supreme perfection, which is Krishna consciousness. So this is how Lord Shri Krishna has assured Arjuna that do not worry. You don't have to think that you will be unsuccessful, and if you're somehow that are not able to complete your path of controlling your mind using the abhyas and vairagya, you are assured that you will not fall down, that even if something happens, you will restart the process, and then easily you can actually take from where you have left and complete it. And especially this is important for Ashtanga yogis or Jnana yogis, where the success doesn't come in just one life. You require many, many lifetimes before you can actually complete your process. And for them, this assurance is required. Even for Bhakti yogis, of course, it is, even though it is mentioned that in one single lifetime, we can complete this process and go back to Godhead. It is possible that sometimes, because of some reason, like we are distracted because of our association or whatever, and then we will fall down and we may not be able to complete that in one lifetime. Then in that situation, we do not have to worry that, okay, whatever I have done, it is gone. Of course, we have to worry that how come we have fallen down. We have to actually make sure that we have to take sincere effort to remain on the path, and we do not get distracted. But for whatever reason, if that happens, you will again come back and you will continue. After Lord Shri Krishna has explained this, now Krishna wants to take Arjuna towards Bhakti Yoga. So the last two verses actually gives a hierarchy of the yoga system. So let us look at these two verses. 46. तपस्विभ्योऽधिको योगी ज्ञानीभ्योऽपि मतोऽधिकः कर्मिभ्यश्चाधिको योगी तस्माद् योगी भवार्जुन. Wants to read? Yes, Ramakrishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
A yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruity worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So here in this verse 46, and actually then 47 as well, the hierarchy of the yogis is given. So the ascetics who are doing tapasya, tapasvis, then empiricists, which are jnanis, and the fruity workers, karmi. So all of these, they are there and they are on the spiritual path. They are doing something. But better than them is Ashtanga Yogi, it is mentioned. It is said that Krishna is saying, what is my opinion? That I'm thinking that better than these ascetics, empiricist, or the fruity worker, a yogi, which is, he is referring to Ashtanga Yogi, it is better. But the next verse explains that better than Ashtanga Yogi is a devotee. So let us look at that final verse, which is a very famous verse of this 6th chapter. योगिनामपि सर्वेषां मद्गतेनान्तरात्मना श्रद्धावान् भजते यो मां समे युक्ततमो मतः. Yes, Raghavendra Prabhuji or Anuradha Priya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. And of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. This is my opinion.
Thank you, Mataji. So here, Lord Shri Krishna is saying that a devotee is even better than Ashtanga Yogi. So earlier verse was saying that Ashtanga Yogi is better than ascetic, empiricist, fruity worker. But now this verse is saying that a devotee is even better than Ashtanga Yogi. So yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana. So and Shraddhavan bhajate yomam samyuktatamo mata. Yuktatama means he's the best. Yuktatama is the superlative. So he's saying that Yuktatama is the best of the yogis. And which yogi is better or best? So he has great faith in Krishna. He has this great faith, Shraddhavan. He's a Shraddhavan. He's having a great faith. And the second thing is mentioned, he takes shelter in him, which is always abides in me, it is mentioned. And then it is mentioned, always thinks of me within himself. And he renders loving service unto Lord Shri Krishna. So these are the characteristics which are mentioned, which is the characteristic of a devotee. So such a yogi who's doing all of these is the best worshipper of Lord Shri Krishna. He's the topmost yogi. So Bhakti Yogi is mentioned as the topmost yogi in this verse. And even though the chapter is Ashtanga Yoga chapter, at the end of it, it finishes saying that, oh, Bhakti Yogi is the best, because controlling the mind with Ashtanga Yoga is so difficult. But by Bhakti Yoga, it is so easy to do it. And this is also like a segue to take Arjuna towards the process of Bhakti Yoga. As we talked about earlier, the first six chapter mainly talks about Nishkam Karma. The middle sixth chapter talks about Bhakti, and the last sixth chapter talks mainly about analytical knowledge. Of course, all of this entire Bhagavad Gita is talking about Bhakti Yoga, but it is using Nishkam Karma, it is explaining Bhakti, using Bhakti Yoga, and then towards the end, using analytical knowledge, explains Bhakti. But like this middle sixth chapter now, from 7 to 12, will focus mainly on Bhakti. So now from next week onwards, we will start that section, which is chapter 7. Thank you very much. We will stop here and we will see any questions, comments, reflections on what we discussed today. But before we go there, this is the final lesson that Bhakti Yoga is the supreme path. So I would recommend everyone to take Bhakti Yoga process. Hare Krishna. Okay, Sudharma Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have this question. When Arjuna asked this question about the transcendentalists who are like a raven cloud, so what process Krishna has said, like who may be step by step going to the heavenly planet and coming down, that may be applying even for the ascetic, empress, fruity worker, Ashtanga yogi, devotee, anyone.
That's correct. So this process, what he's saying that the 41 and 42nd verse, it is not only applicable to Bhakti Yogi. It is for any yoga process, any yogi following any of the yoga process. If they do not complete their self-realization or purification in this lifetime, and they finish it somewhere in between, then what will happen? So it is applicable to Jnana Yogi, Nishkam Karma Yogi, Ashtanga Yogi, as well as Bhakti Yogi.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Any other comments, reflections, or the important points or summary points of this entire chapter, chapter 6? Yes, Sannyas Prabhuji or Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, what about, is it praying to normal pray, like, if no one is not in the yoga system, but if it's just praying to going to temple and praying and doing the ritualistic activities, and then doing some sort of kirtans and everything, they are also treated as they are in yoga?
So yoga means the process is, as the basic definition of yoga is to connect to the Supreme Lord somehow or the other. Yoga, as you remember, we talked about, yoga comes from the word yuja. Yuja is to reconnect. And reconnecting what? It is connecting the soul to the Supreme Lord. So any process where we are trying to connect to the Supreme Lord, there this is applicable. If you are not connecting to the Supreme Lord, then you are just doing some karma kanda activities. And karma kanda activities comes into pious activities, but not in the yoga process. Pious activities will give you good results. So if you do something good, like you do some charity, or you dig a well, or you help someone, and all of that will give you some good result. And the good result can give you in the next life. So you may actually go to the heavenly planet and enjoy there, or in the next life, when you are in need, you will get the money, or all of that will happen. But that is not giving you the spiritual benefits that you are talking, which comes from the yoga process. It is still good it's because you are actually going from passion and ignorance towards goodness, because then you are not thinking about yourself only. So you are purifying, you are thinking a little bit bigger than yourself, like you're thinking outside of yourself, and you're trying to help someone. Otherwise, the natural, not natural, but our unnatural tendency is that we actually focused on ourselves only. So by thinking about helping others, you are actually going from that perspective, from that self-centered perspective, that you want to help someone else. So it is a progress, but that is still not coming onto the yoga process. If you are connecting, you are focusing on Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, um, then only it will be connected. It will be considered as a yoga process, and then you will get the benefits which are mentioned for yoga.
So the pujas and the things done for not for Narayan, that's not come under yoga system. Narayan
So
or
if,
expression
yeah,
Narayan.
if it is Vishnu Tattva, which is mentioned, and then if you are connected to the Supreme Lord through any of the Vishnu Tattvas, yes, then it will be considered yoga. But other pujas, as I said, there will be some benefits to it, but they will not be considered yoga.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, coming back to some summary points for chapter 6 or for today's session, or some reflections for today. Did you not understand anything from today's session?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I think this is a wonderful session. Actually, it clears some of my fears and doubts. What if we fail? What if we fall down? So it was a real reassurance that it's not going to get wasted. It's probably more worthful than doing anything else.
Okay, excellent.
Prabhuji.
Sudharma Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. We went through how mind is very difficult to control, but by practice and detachment, we can. And we went through what's the practice and detachment under each of the yogas, like Nishkama Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, and Ashtanga Yogi, and at last Bhakti Yogi, how they are able to practice and detach.
Yes, nice, Mataji. Thank you. Good reflection. Tripti Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, very, very nice. I also had lots of doubts with regards to the rebirth and what in future, like if I'm doing this thing and I pass away, half of life is gone, and yes, if nothing is achieved. So it was really reassuring to know that God is with us, and God will put us into a righteous family where we can continue our journey to go towards the Godhead, Supreme Godhead. So it's very reassuring, and thanks a lot. It really cleared up lots of doubts, but it's just reassuring and remembering this all the time. That's the thing.
Okay, great. Great to know that it is helping you to understand and clarify your doubts. Vibhor Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The reflection for me is the nature of mind, which is chanchal, pramathi, obstinate, and balvat. It also you also showed the slide that chariot is the body, soul is the passenger, intelligence is the driver, mind are the reins to control horses, which are the five senses. So we should be basically focusing on bhakti yoga to gain to gain control of those reins, and that is by following by chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and following the four regulative principles.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Prabhuji. Vidhi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much for the wonderful class. My reflection is, as you mentioned in the class, that if we follow the four regulative principles and chant minimum 16 rounds, then Srila Prabhupada gives the guarantee that we obviously will make spiritual progress and we may go back to Goddess.
Yes, that is the most important point, Mataji. Good. Srila Prabhupada's guarantee is the most important guarantee.
Yes,
Because
Prabhuji. Sometimes we may get like impatience while doing sadhana bhakti, but that assurance gives the boost, like to keep going on.
yes, And the reason why a pure devotee's guarantee is important is even actually more important than Lord Krishna's guarantee itself. Because sometimes Krishna will say something, but he will have to change his words because if his devotee says something else. And we saw in Mahabharata's war as well, multiple times, Krishna has actually break his own vows to fulfill the vow of a devotee. But if a pure devotee has said something, then Krishna will make sure that no matter what, those words will come true. And this is our, this is the saving grace that we have, that Srila Prabhupada has given us these words, that if we actually follow this process at the end of the life, then we can go back to Godhead. So Krishna will make sure that if Prabhupada has given these words to us, it will be fulfilled. Those words will be fulfilled.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Sannyas Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my reflection was understanding the word abhyasa. It's just the practice, it's just not one time, two time doing, continuously, regularly doing the same thing again and again. Then only it becomes abhyasa. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes. Okay, wonderful. Excellent. Thank you very much. I think we will stop here and then we will meet again next week with chapter 7. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad
Jai.
Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare
Jai.
Krishna.